The history of the choir began in 1928 when Mr. Alfred J. Morgan was asked by the Guild of Ebenezer Chapel in Tylerstown to provide a night's entertainment. He asked 12 friends to help him and they called themselves the Mustard Gleemen. They entered and won a number of local Eisteddfods and changed the name to Morlais Glee Singers after a move to rehearse at Horeb Chapel in Tylerstown. The first annual concert was held at the Coliseum in Tylerstown in 1932. It was such a huge success that the following year the concert was moved to Ferndale Workman's Hall and began a tradition of inviting famous London artists of international repute. The tickets were in huge demand and the choir had no problem filling the Workman's Hall. The choir's accompanist at this time was Mr. Roderick Jones of Ferndale, who, after receiving professional training, was later to become a baritone appearing at Covent Garden and in opera houses across Europe. By 1938, Morlais had come second in the National Eisteddfod and they went on to win the Llandrindod Eisteddfod 3 times. In 1939, the choir lost founder-conductor Alfie Morgan, who had moved with his job to Builth Wells and was succeeded by Mr. Trevor Lewis, who was a local school teacher. The organisation continued to perform throughout the war years in spite of the hardships, whilst others were unable to continue during these difficult times. The 40s and 50s brought more success in Eisteddfodau, and in 1957 the conductor Mr. Trevor Lewis, who brought great advances in the tonal quality of the choir, was succeeded by Mr. Trevor Jeffrey. 1961 proved to be a watershed for the Morlais, as they were successful on the competition circuit, doing the double by winning the National and Porthcawl Miners Eisteddfods. In 1962 the choir bought its first rehearsal hall, the Endeavour Hall. The building was the former Ferndale Fire Station, a wooden structure which was purchased by raising money through collections and raffles. Over Easter 1963, Morlais embarked on their first overseas tour to Baden-Württemberg with a party of 37. The choristers were overwhelmed by the enormity of the welcome from their German hosts. They performed twice in Stuttgart, including a joint concert with the local Folklore Singchora in the Liederhalle. Later that week, the party visited a second choir in Sulzbach. It was there that the Morlais were presented with the prestigious Wilhelm Nagel Medal. This was the first time the award had been presented to a foreign choir. Later that year, the choir won for the second time both the National Eisteddfod and the Porthcawl Miners Eisteddfod. During the 70s, the choir changed their name to Meibion Morlais, winning the Porthcawl Miners Eisteddfod on 2 more occasions. Visitors from Brunsum in southern Holland came to Ferndale for a short tour in 1972, and the following year the choir chartered a plane and a party of 105 left the Ronde for Holland, where they were received with rapturous applause at every concert. By 1978, Meibion Morlais had been making music for 50 years, including the difficult period throughout the Second World War. They had won local and national Eisteddfods, as well as touring Britain, Germany and Holland and bringing international artists to the Workman's Hall and choirs from Stuttgart and Brunsum to perform to the public of Ferndale. The Morlais began their Golden Jubilee year with high expectations, for much effort and hard work had been put into preparing a special event for each month. The plans were laid and the time had now come to show the world just what Meibion Morlais could do. Way back in February 1928, the very first Morlais concert was held at Ebenezer Chapel in Tylerstown, and it was to Ebenezer that the choir returned in 1978 to honour the vision of the first choristers and mark the Golden Jubilee. Not all the events were musical, however. A party of 128 choristers, wives, families and friends spent a highly enjoyable week in Torquay at the end of May. As part of the Golden Jubilee celebrations in 1978, the choir had organised a fete and gala in a spectacular setting of Ferndale's Darren Park. The event was so successful, the Morlais Gala became an annual fixture, attended by up to 10,000 people every year. On 2 occasions, the Red Devils parachuted into Darren Park, passing a baton from man to man during their freefall through the air above Blaenllechau. On the musical front, the Morlais began to take an increasing interest in foreign visits and exchanges. In 1980, the choir went to Amersfoort in the Netherlands as guests of the town's vocal group, who had already spent an enjoyable weekend in Ferndale. Then, in 1982, came the first of 5 visits to Tulle, capital of the Corrèze department of southern France, where the choir always received a warm welcome. Friends from Tulle were also present when in 1990 the choir sang 2 concerts in Paris, including an unforgettable performance in the Basilica of the Sacré-Cœur. By now, the choir was ready to travel further afield, and in 1996 staged a 2-week concert tour of the USA and Canada. In between concerts, there was plenty of time for sightseeing in Philadelphia, Washington, Toronto, Niagara Falls and New York, where the tour ended with a performance in the Great Cathedral of St. John the Divine. Back in Wales, the Morlais issued its first full-length commercial recording, Down in the Valley, and took part in a series of television shows from Cardiff St David's Hall and from Cardiff Castle. Then, following the tragic death of Diana, Princess of Wales in Paris, the choir was asked to perform a recital at the memorial service held in Llandaff Cathedral to coincide with her funeral at Westminster Abbey in London on the 6th of September 1997. In recent years, foreign tours have become a regular feature of life in the Morlais, including Wolfenbüttel in Germany, Brussels, Torrevieja in southern Spain, and then Hungary in 2003, when the choir performed in the magnificent surroundings of the immense Basilica of St. Stephen in Budapest. The following year, the choir was invited to Jol in Southern Ireland, and 2005 saw the Morlais in the Czech Republic, with performances to packed houses in Brno and Prague. Then, in 2006, the Morlais broke new ground by participating in the Royal Nova Scotia International Tattoo, linking up with over 1,400 performers from 6 different countries to perform a fast-paced show every night for over a week to audiences of 8,000 people. The Tattoo remains the most concentrated effort to date by the choir, but one which all the choristers thoroughly enjoyed. Along the way, the Morlais has also welcomed several choirs from England, as well as a choir from Hokksund in Norway and the Russian State Cossack Ensemble. And of course, the Morlais regularly gives concerts throughout Wales and England, including since 1995, no less than 5 visits to Kent arranged by friends of the choir in the Sittingbourne and Medway Towns area. The success of the choir in recent years on the concert stage has been matched by a determination to transform the Morlais Hall into a living museum of song. The hall will always be the choir's home, but is also now the home of the Music Matters exhibition, which tells the story of music making in the Rhondda. The story that has been written is history, and the story that remains to be written is our future. And as we stand poised in time at a moment between the two, we salute those whose labours have got us this far and pass the baton on to the next generation to keep the coals of our culture glowing bright and the sound of singing forever strong.